सुदेवाय नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय नंदनाय च नन्दगोपाकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातम् अहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरं नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Thank you so much. So, how many of you know there are different aparadhas? You know, most of them we know there is Vaishnava aparad, there is Guru aparad, there is Seva aparad, and there is Dham aparad, there is aparad for holy names. How many of you are aware there is other more important aparadhas other than to holy name? Okay. First one is Dham aparad. How many of you are aware there is something called aparadha to holy Dham? Technically, you may have heard it, but most of you don't know about it. So, what is a holy dham? Anybody?
Where God lives.
Okay, that's one qualification.
It
Next.
is non-different from the appearance and the.
Yes. Okay.
Devotees Charana Dhul.
Yes. Yeah. So the main qualification for any place or any what do you say, a place to be a holy place or the dham, is it that the Lord and his devotees should have appeared or had pastimes there. It's not that only the places where Lord has appeared it is a holy dham. No, the places where even the Lord's devotees have appeared and he has performed pastimes there, it is called a holy place. So several other things are there, as you all said. What does a tirtha or a holy dham or a holy place can be. So the first and foremost thing that constitute a holy dham is a place where there should be lot of spiritual activities in that place. And the tirtha or that holy place should be visited by sadhus, saintly persons. And sometimes, there are references of that holy places from Vedic scriptures. Historically they have been mentioned, these are the holy places, these are bona fide holy places. Sometimes randomly people may come up with a place of pilgrimage and they say it's a holy place, but no, sometimes there are bona fide places which are mentioned in scriptures, and sometimes there are holy places where people just go take bath. So but our scriptures tells that any holy place, if somebody is just going to go and take bath, they are no better than cow or an ass. Such a great chastisement. You are called less intelligent, just going to a holy dham and just taking a dip. No, that is not the place. Visiting a holy dham or tirtha is nothing but associating with saintly persons. A place which is bereft of either the saintly persons, or there is a place which is devoid of service to the Lord, or there are places which are devoid of glorifying the great devotees of that place, does not have holy place status. So when you go to a tirtha or any holy dham, we should be enlivened in Krishna consciousness. What should we do? That means that tirtha should give us a potency. It should have that potency to uplift our Krishna consciousness. And the other point Srila Prabhupada mentions, and he actually made a few of the places. All of the Srila Prabhupada temples are holy dhams. Why? Because a place where there is a chanting of the holy name, glorification of the Lord, which are the prominent features of our bhakti, if they are present in that tirtha, it is called a holy dham. That is why Srila Prabhupada established so many temples. Why? Because sometimes it's very difficult for people to go and access dham. Even if they have access to dham, they don't know the greatness of dham. And they may not appreciate. So that is why Srila Prabhupada said, when he was establishing various temples, Srila Prabhupada was very happy, but he was also getting worried. Why? Because these holy places, where there are deities, where there is deity service, where there is glorification of the holy name, where there is glorification of the Lord, sometimes they can be a burden in the neck. Why? Because if your deity worship is not well, nobody is avoiding offenses in holy dham, and nobody understands the importance of dham, or nobody is taking shelter of the deity in that dham, then that place, even though established by great devotee, cannot be holy. And Srila Prabhupada also mentioned a place where Srimad Bhagavatam is being honored. It can be a large temple, it can be your house, it can be a tree, it can be any place, anywhere in India or in this world, where somebody is offering respects to Srimad Bhagavatam, that whole place becomes a dham. So holy dham is not different from Krishna. Why? Because Krishna has chosen that place. He has come and he's performed pastimes. And more important, the devotees of Krishna are relishing that place. So just like we have 10 offenses to holy dham, holy name, we also have 10 offenses to holy dham. So Archana Paddhati, it's a deity worship manual. Most of these manuals which are prepared from Hari Bhakti Vilas, it's an authorized deity manual in our ISKCON worship. They have laid down 10 offenses to holy dham. Okay, the first one is to show contempt or disrespect for the guru who reveals Vrindavan Dham. Just like in Nam Aparada, the first three are for Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava. Similarly, the first three offenses in Holy Dhama are also addressed to Hari, Guru, and Vaishnava. So he's saying that we should not disrespect a guru who is revealing Vrindavan Dhama. Very important that Dhama should be seen or should be heard. Dharma has to be heard through ears and seen through ears. So if somebody, some great devotee is showing you or revealing you Vrindavan Dham, the Lord's pastimes in that place, we should never show disrespect. We should never commit offense to that great devotee. First. Next, to think that Vrindavan Dhama is temporary, because Vrindavan Dhama is not different from Hari. So if you are considering Vrindavan Dham, which is there on this earth, Bhavama Vrindavan to be temporary, or any place for that Puri, Jagannath Puri, Sri Rangam, all these places which are non-different from the Lord, they are not temporary. Yes, material world is temporary, but all these dhams where the Lord is present are not temporary. They are eternal. It's just that we have no access to that eternality. So we should never consider Vrindavan Dham or any holy place to be temporary. Third, to commit violence towards any Vrajavasis, residents, or pilgrims, or to think that they are ordinary people. So, yes, we all know that, and we are all aware that we've been repeatedly told when you go to Dham, we should behave very nicely with the residents or the pilgrims there. So, we should never commit offenses towards any Vrajavasi or pilgrims, thinking that they are ordinary people. Why you and me are not born in that holy Dham? Why are they born in that holy Dham? They have access to the Lord's place. That means they are much better, dear, or much better than us. Krishna is giving preference to those people. That is why they have been born in that place. That's why we should never commit Vaishnava Aparadh or any violence against any residents or pilgrims in that place. Okay, even an ordinary, what to speak of the residents there, even an ordinary visiting person who's coming, because he did not plan, it is Lord's plan for him to come and visit. We all make plans to go to Tirtha, but actually you are not making the plan. The Tirtha is allowing, it is so merciful that it is allowing us to come to the Dham. So that is why what we should do, we should never commit even to a regular ordinary person who's visiting Dham. We should never chastise or act violently with him or speak harsh words with them. Why? Because it's a Vaishnava etiquette also to behave nicely with others. We should exhibit the greatest etiquettes in Holy Dham. Okay. Fourth, perform mundane activities while living in Vrindavan Dham. Performing mundane activities means a lot of people say, okay, let me do bhakti as well as karmic activities in Holy Dham. A lot of times we go to Tirupati, we take darshan and then immediately we are accessing where is a good hotel or a restaurant here to eat. Yes, bhukti, mukti, everything can go. But these places are not ordinary people. The same thing you can do in Hyderabad also. Right? Why do you have to go and do it in that place? So we should never perform mundane activities. Any activities which can be impediment in your progress or which will not make you progress, which will not make your Krishna conscious progress, those kind of activities we should avoid in Vrindavan Dham. Next, fifth, earn money by and making business of deity worship and Harinam. Very, very important. It is said any Brahmanas are never should do any of those, Bhagavad Saptas or any of make business out of deity worship or any puja. Brahmanas are never, they were never supposed to demand money, tell that, this vrata is 10,000, that vrata is 10,000. No. They should simply perform the duty of doing deity worship and they can be rewarded for it. They can be given charity and they should be happy with that. But what happened, unfortunately, the pujaris these days they are making money or making business out of deity worship and Harinam. What is Harinam here means? Bhagavad Saptas. Big, big Bhagavad Saptas, pandals are happening. You invite, you put money into this. No, you should never do that. It is actually a duty of a holy person or a saintly person to preach. A sannyasi is supposed to work for Krishna. He should not charge for all these things. So that's why we should never make business out of deity worship or Harinam. Six offenses. To think Vrindavan Dhama belong to mundane country or province like Uttar Pradesh, to equate Vrindavan Dhama with holy place of demigods, to attempt to measure the area of Raja. What is it? Localization of holy Dham. A lot of people, Brajvasis or the people of Uttar Pradesh, they think that Vrindavana is their place. Puri, you see, it is our Jagannath. They have this, strong feeling that, Jagannath belongs to them. Anything to do with Jagannath, it is their property of whether what kind of festival, how even Jagannath should be worshipped. They have this, strong localization where they think that, this is our God. He has to be worshipped in the way we have laid down the rules. So never we should attribute holy dham to any place. So what are you doing by doing this? These are nothing but material tendencies. We have this material tendency, right? If somebody is specifically in India, we have this. First thing you see a person and then you ask their name and immediately you'll ask from which place. Some place which is closer by city, closer by to your village or you're familiar with, immediately you start behaving with that person as if, he is your person. So that is why we should never attempt to make or attribute one mundane country or one place to yourself. And more important, you should never measure the area of Raja. Vrindavan Dham is like a eternal praise for the Lord. Okay, you cannot measure and tell, oh, I think Chaurasi koshas are there, this much area is Vrindavan. Vrindavan is only 2 kilometers. Govardhan is 21 kilometers. Yes, see, but somebody else you can tell it is 21 kilometers, but don't condense or minimize the place to the calculations of this material world. Are you all understanding what I'm saying?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Never attribute any materialistic or mundane or speculative calculations to holy dhams. Okay. Never. We should not. Actually, we should. When you go to holy places, we should throw all our abilities, our thinking capacity, your degree, your qualification. You are an IIT or you are a scientist. Leave all those things and enter into Vrindavan Dham. Why? If you're not, then you'll use all your learned abilities, all your skills in seeing them or seeing or measuring or attributing material standards or material calculations to Vrindavan. Never we should see a Vrindavan as a place. Yes, for our eyes, because our eyes are not anointed with love for Krishna, we are seeing Vrindavan as a place or Mayapur as a place. But no, these are the home of Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is where He has come, He has choose to come. There are so many places why Krishna only came to Vrindavan, because He loves that place. He has come there. He has performed his pastimes there. And how merciful is the Lord? He could have performed it locally, and if you want, he could have kept everything secretively. But no, he has given access for us to enter the pastimes of him in those holy places. That is why we should never attribute any kind of material standards or calculations or understand that this is our local God. We South Indians think Ranganath is South Indian. No, it's not. Next, seventh, to commit sinful acts while residing in Vrindavan Dham. So, very, 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 very rare is human birth. And in that human birth, Durlabha Manu Janma, if you have been given an opportunity to stay in Vrindavan Dham, please do not commit sinful activities. You know, sometimes, one time Srila Prabhupada was asked by his disciples, there are so many notorious monkeys and pigs in Vrindavan, right? So one of the disciple asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, these monkeys are enjoying here. So many monkeys are there. And he was like, he did not like those so many monkeys, creating menace and all. So, but Srila Prabhupada warned him, these are not ordinary monkeys. These are people who have come and committed sinful activities in Vrindavan Dham. That is why they are born as pigs and hawks and monkeys in Vrindavan Dham. So we should never do or commit any sinful activities while residing in Vrindavan Dham. Residing Vrindavan Dham is the greatest opportunity or benediction that Krishna has given you. How happy will you be there if somebody invited you to their house? You will be happy, right? So when we go and visit Vrindavan Dham, we are happy. Okay, we are very fortunate. But how fortunate are those people who have been given access to reside in that place? Their great fortune than us, right? You all agree, right? If some devotees are staying in Vrindavan or holy place, are there not very fortunate people than us? When that fortune comes, we should not, misuse that fortune by staying there and committing sinful activities there. Or when we are given access to go, when we go to Dham, we should never commit sinful activities. Next, to consider Vrindavana and Navadip to be different. So here it makes Vrindavana or Navadip, but we should never see that holy places of the Lord are different. Vrindavan is in Uttar Pradesh, Navadip is in Calcutta. No. It's a place of activity where Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, performed his pastimes. All places where Krishna has performed, all places where the Lord is glorified, where the devotee of the Lords are there and glorifying the Lord, that places are non-different. They are all same, one and the same. The potency of the place remains the same. Okay. We cannot consider Krishna in this form is very strong. Krishna in Ranganath is not as strong. The potency of that dham remains the same. So ninth offense is to blaspheme Shastra that glorify Vrindavan Dham, or for that matter, any Dham. Even to blaspheme any Shastra. See, there are some Puranas. You have some local Puranas also where the Lord has performed his pastimes there. Okay? There are Sthala Puranas. Sthala means place. Puranas are there. Where that Sthala Purana speaks about the activities of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, or there are some Puranas which mention, or there are some books which are written on the great devotees of that place. We should not blaspheme these Shastras thinking that, maybe this Shastra is some local or a folk tale and all. We should never undermine any Shastra which is glorifying the Lord and the Dham. We should never have that, never consider any scripture or Shastra which is glorifying Vrindavan Dham. Yes, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, which is highest. but that does not give you what do you say, a right to compare that, what this is what Srimad Bhagavatam is, this is what Sthala Purana is. No. We should never, never blaspheme any Shastra which is glorifying Lord. Okay. 10. 10th, which is the last and final, to be faithless and think the glories of Vrindavan Dham are imaginary. Okay. So very, very important that this is actually talking about the faith on Dham. When you go to Dham, we should consider Dham to be a non-different from the place of Lord's pastime and his residence. Okay, so we should never think that Vrindavan Dham is something imaginary. This Bhama Vrindavan or this Navadip is actually is an entrance into spiritual world for us. We should have, when we enter these places, we should have strong faith when we enter into these holy dhams. So, or when you are in dham, we should make sure this all these 10 offenses we should never commit. We should go in a consciousness with a humble attitude, with the prayerful mood, that you should submit ourselves to dham as well as to the Lord, that we are very ignorant. We are very ignorant. Really, if you see in a prayerful heart, we should go. We are very ignorant. We have no knowledge about the holy scriptures. We have no knowledge about the holy dham, nor we have knowledge about the Lord and his pastimes and the greatness of his pastimes. So that is why Srila Prabhupada would always explain that if somebody goes to Holy Dham, the activities which he perform magnifies by 1,000 times. That means if you are performing any devotional activity in Holy Dham, it magnifies. And most of them choose to go on some holy month, Kartik. And Kartik also we have special favors. We are given some special privileges. So now going to Holy Dham in regular time itself magnifies your activities. Sometimes we try to go and go to the Holy Dham in Kartik or anything. Why we go to Holy Dham? Because we want some advancement in Krishna consciousness, right? So that is why when we want to advance in Krishna consciousness, we should avoid these offenses in Holy Dham. What happens if we commit offenses in Holy Dham? Just like when you perform devotional service, it magnifies 1,000 times. Similarly, when you commit offenses, it also gets magnified by 1,000 times. That is why our Acharyas advise, or Srila Prabhupada used to advise his disciples, and specifically when Srila Prabhupada got all these American devotees to Vrindavan Dham, he was over and over, very repeatedly, he would instruct them not to commit any offense in Holy Dham. Okay. Why do we go to Vrindavan or Navadip or here? We simply go to do bhajan or perform some devotional seva. We come with the spirit of renunciation also. When you go to Holy Dham, we should go with the spirit of renunciation. What does renunciation means? We should always take shelter of the Lord, Sharanagati. So generally, we feel very proud sometimes. I'm talking about myself. Whenever I've given a chance to go to Vrindavan, or when Lord is merciful, I proclaim myself that oh, I'm going to Vrindavan. That means I've been chosen. We should never go with that. With utter humility, taking complete shelter, Sharanagati of the Lord, with the spirit of renunciation, we should simply enter Vrindavan Dham and beg for Dham to reveal its glories. Sometimes we don't have intelligence to understand the glories of the Holy Dham. So, what we should do, we should seek and beg. We should seek for those sadhus who can reveal the Dham to us. Why? Because when you're going to spiritual dham, we should not consider, whether my food is taken care, my stay is taken care. That should not be the priority. Don't think that you will have bhakti and bhoga together in Vrindavan. That is not the place where bhakti and bhoga together go. No, it is only, we should only understand when we go to holy place. If my Krishna bhakti is it going to enliven? Am I going to get charged up when I go to Vrindavan? Am I going to get charged up when I go to Navadip? That is what you should be, that is what you should go for. And that is why you have to go there for. Okay. It is said in Hari Bhakti Vilas, there's a very beautiful shloka. It says, Tavasmiti vadan vacha tataiva manasa vidhan tatstanam ashristastanva modate sharanagata. It says, one who has taken shelter, sharanagati, leads to a life of happiness. For with his words says, I am yours, O Lord. In his mind he thinks so, and with the body he resorts to the Lord's own abode. So here it is giving in what way we should enter a holy dham. With uttermost humility, uttermost taking shelter, Sharanagati of the Lord, we should enter to the Lord's abode, saying that, O Lord, I am yours. In the mind, we should think that we are nothing without the Lord mercy. Like that, we should enter. So, what does it means to enter with uttermost humility? Means no ego, no anger. Just like you have to be humble like a blade of the grass. Simply, we should leave our ego there and enter into Vrindavan Dham. Only when you enter with utter Sharanagati or utter humility, the Dham will actually invite you, it will reveal itself. So there are Maya is like a curtain, right? Between you and Krishna, there is a curtain. So if you want that curtain to be removed, what is the best way? What is the best way? How can you remove Maya?
Serve the
Anybody?
devotees.
Okay.
Association, Mataji, of the saintly
Actually,
person.
yes, but your consciousness. That is why Prabhupada over and over he is telling Krishna consciousness. Anything to do with the Lord is conscious. Everything in the world which is related to Krishna has a consciousness. That is why in spiritual world, when you see even an ant, even a rock, even everything is spiritual. Okay, so we should have a consciousness which will make us see the Lord, and that consciousness should be imbibed or filled with love and devotion towards the Lord. Okay, so that is why, so we should, whenever we are going to dham, we should nicely try to see that we don't commit these 10 offenses. Okay, at the end, I will summarize what is the main reason why we commit aparats, whether this aparat to holy name or whether it is aparat to seva or whether it is aparat to holy places, guru aparat. There are some criteria which actually or attributes which will make people do these aparats. So that at the end I will tell. But whenever you are going to holy dham, please understand that holy dham is non different from the Lord, and we are go there for sadhu sangha. That's it, nothing else. You by yourself don't go and just make a checklist, this temple, that temple, that temple. No, it is okay even if you don't go to any temples. Sit at one place and hear about the Lord's pastime from the glorious mouths of the devotees. That is actually your tirtha. The place where the Lord is glorified is called as tirtha, and devotees are considered to be tirtha kurvanti tirthaha. What does it mean? They are the places, roaming tirthas. Why? Because they carry Krishna in their heart, and more important, Krishna actually carries them in their heart. Okay. So, any questions and comments? So these are the 10 offenses to holy dham. Next, we are going to do offenses towards deity. Before that, any questions, comments? Anybody wants to add? Kavita Mataji, you want to add anything?
No, Mataji, all well said. Can you shed some light on whether we can stay in the dham, how long we should stay, and whether it's recommended to like move and settle there? Because I hear different versions.
Mataji, anything to do in our spiritual activity has to be under the guidance of your spiritual master. So a lot of people just go randomly by deities. A lot of people just go want to stay without. But we are in a parampara system. There is a hierarchy. There are some rules, and we are, by the way, we are also following sadhana bhakti. Right? There are some rules and regulations. And everything has to be done under the guidance of a guru. So if somebody is planning to do, it is always best to go and approach your spiritual master, take guidance from him, and he is the best person to tell you what is right. Okay, we hear scriptures, we read scriptures, but we don't have intelligence or consciousness to live in the dham. What will happen when you go without unplanned? When you cannot, when you don't prepare your consciousness and hastily go without considering, sometimes when your spiritual master, even though we are not qualified, sometimes he will agree for you to stay in Vrindavan Dham. Why? Because he's empowered and he will empower us to stay there. Even if you don't have that quality, because of the blessings of this pure devotee, you will be empowered to stay there. So always you should ask, scriptures explain. Yeah, scriptures so many times explain so many things. But somebody has to throw light on it, how to understand what does it really means. Are we qualified to just randomly read a scripture and understand and go and stay? Yeah. Prabhupada said we should never stay in a place more than 3 days. Alone, randomly. But under a guidance of your spiritual master or some yatra with pure devotees, along with other sadhus, if you are going, then you can stay for a longer time. Okay.
Yeah, and one more thing, we have a tendency of, wanting to cover everything in the Dham. Like we leave the program of the yatra and the katha, and then we want to, visit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that tendency also.
Oh,
is,
yeah. In fact, why Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur loved Srila Prabhupada? Once what happened, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was doing yatra and Prabhupada happens to go from Prayagraj. He goes there and then there is this place in Vrindavan, but who is that? Some South Indian temple, Garuda, some temple, I'm not sure. Some South Indian temple is there and everybody wanted to go, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he comes to Pandal to give lecture and then he hardly sees 3 or 4. In that, by the way, Prabhupada did not attend the yatra from the beginning. He just had 1 day holiday. He traveled from Prayagraj and he came to Vrindavan. That means he already missed so much of Vrindavan yatra. But that day he had an option whether to go and check all the other places. But he simply sat down in the pandal and then he was simply hearing and he was seeing the holy place through the words of his spiritual master. And you know what? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he has seen that how Prabhupada was very eager to sit back and hear and understand the glory of Vrindavan Dham. That is why later on, when once somebody introduced Abhacharan, when Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, first thing he told as soon as he saw Prabhupada after that yatra, in some place in Calcutta, you know what he told? Oh, Abhacharan, yeah, I know, he likes to listen. You know what? Because he actually understood the correct mood in which we have to enter and be in Vrindavan. That is why even his spiritual master acknowledged.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay?
Yes, Mataji. That's why we should hear the dham with our ears. We should see the dham with our ears. That's what they say. Not see with the eyes, but see with the ears.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. Okay. Next, very, very important. Seva aparad. So you all agree that we have seva aparads, right? How many of you agree there are seva aparads?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes,
There is
Mataji.
deity worship, and we all perform deity worship. So there are also offenses in deity worship.
Yes, Mataji.
Right? So why do we commit deity worship? Why do we commit aparads in deity worship?
We may not know
Mm.
what is an aparad in seva.
Yeah. First of all, we should understand who the deity is. We should never neglect our deity worship. Any negligence on the part of a priest It is said the demigods do not accept their share in sacrifices. What does it mean? That means we should never neglect our deity worship. First of all, we are engaged in worshipping Radha Krishna. Who are these? Who are they?
Anal father and mother Mataji.
They are father and mother. But who are they? They are the Archa Vigraha. We should never consider that deities what we have in the house is made up of Ashtadhatu or stone or painting or no. They are Sakshat Radha and Krishna. They are Sakshat Gaur Nitai. They are Sakshat Jagannath Baldev Subhadramai.
Prachendranandam.
Yes. We should avoid Seva Aparad. Very, 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 very essential that if you want to progress. Why? Because if when you are doing, because it's a direct access to Krishna. The one direct devotional service which you are performing to Krishna directly is deity worship, seva. When somebody is doing deity worship or puja or anything, it should not be done mechanically. It should be filled with consciousness. That is why we say it's a worship. Okay, it's not some mechanical, movement of the hand where you're showing all the items to the Lord. No, it is very important that you do with the consciousness, with love and affection. Or else, even if you're not doing it out of love and devotion, yes, we are all struggling. We might not have love and devotion, but at least you should develop with a small faith that there is Krishna present before us. At least start with that. If you don't have and you're mechanically doing, just like what happens, sometimes we follow rules and regulations in our school. It becomes like a habit, or your body get accustomed or tuned to it, and instead of putting our consciousness, we mechanically start performing that activities unknowingly. Also your body will be doing it. Such a kind of worship, especially when it comes to deities, it is considered to be a non-devotee worship. That means Krishna doesn't reciprocate such kind of devotion. So, and first of all, we should understand what the deity is. Deity is not something which is whimsically installed. And specifically, we are all practicing Krishna consciousness. We know it has been installed under the guidance of your spiritual master. Okay, it has been installed by the direction of Shastra. It is not some random, you just liked Radha Krishna and you got it and you have put and you're worshipping. No. These are manifestations of Swayam Krishna and Radha, or Swayam Nitai Gauranga, or Jagannath Baldev Subhadramai. Chaitanya Charitamrita beautifully tells, please write Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, 24th chapter, 336. Nama Mahima Nama Parada Dui Varjana Vaishnava Lakshana Seva Parada Tandana. What does it mean? It says you should glorify the holy name. That is actually the symptom of a Vaishnava. What is the symptom of a Vaishnava? That he should glorify the holy name. And more important is, he should also must give up and nullify the kinds of seva aparads we do. Two things which a Vaishnava should do. He should glorify the Lord and he should avoid seva aparadas. Then his bhakti is first class. This devotee should actually practice the deity worship strictly. Why? Because when you're doing service to the Lord, it's a very natural activity. What you're doing? See, what is your natural consciousness? We are Jivera Swarupa Nityara Krishnadas, right? We are engaging ourselves naturally when you're doing deity worship. So when you're doing an activities which is natural for or which is based on your soul, then we quickly progress in Krishna consciousness. That is why Prabhupada told that we have to chant. Why? Because these are the natures or the characters of us as the spirit soul. We have to chant, we have to perform deity worship, we have to perform devotional services. These are the natural activities of a soul. So when you perform these activities, naturally and quickly you progress in Krishna and you become a very nice Vaishnava. So more than anything, why we should not do aparadas, seva aparadas? Because seva aparadas are direct aparadas to Krishna. You're directly offering. Yes, we offer through the Lord. Okay, our consciousness is whenever we're doing deity worship is that I have no qualification. I'm just assisting my spiritual master in seva to Radha and Krishna. But if you are not conscious and you're completely engaged yourself, or you're inviting sinful actions, or you're committing offenses to the devotee, what does it do? It destroys the creeper of our devotion. And then we struggle to cultivate Vaishnava etiquettes. We struggle to become a Vaishnava. Okay. So if you see Nectar of Devotion enlist 32 offenses towards the deity worship. And in Varaha Purana also there are another 32, which are almost close to similar. So if you see in Nectar of Devotion, almost close to 64 offenses to the deity worship are there. You all know that, right? 32 and 32. 32 from Varaha Purana and 32 from Hari Bhakti Vilas. But let's see why we commit aparadhs. What are the different type of seva aparadhs we commit? And all these 64, some or the other are connected, or we can put them in these different types. First type of seva aparadh we do is lack of attention or neglect. We neglect deity worship or lack of attention. Means what does it mean? We fail to do deity worship. Means we have been given some task, we have been given some method to perform deity worship. We neglect it. There are some details in doing deity worship. We forget, showing lack of enthusiasm in performing those details. His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj says, attention to details is bhakti. It's a quote from Maharaj. Attention to details is bhakti. It's very important that we should never be neglectful, or we should lose our attention. Lack of attention leads to fall down also in our bhakti process. Even, you can attribute these to even holy name chanting, even to our bhakti. We should be never neglectful, or we should never lose our attentions in our spiritual path. Neglection leads to fall down. That is first type of seva aparadh we do. In that many things are there, but I will not do. I can quote like 10 or 12 from that 32, and I can put in this category, but I will not do. I will just read directly 32. Okay. Next, inattentive or mechanical service. What is neglecting and inattentive? Are they synonyms? No, they're completely different. Neglecting means not at all doing it. You're supposed to do. There are things which are supposed to be done in our deity worship. There are some do's and don'ts. Okay. Doing do's is what we need to do. Is it not? There are some do's and there are some don'ts. We should be focusing on do's. If you don't perform them, then we're completely neglecting it. What does inattentiveness means? You are doing the do's, but there is no consciousness. It is a mechanical process. The second type of seva aparadh we do is inattentive or mechanical service. Means rendering seva mechanically, or aarti, right? Okay, let me do it 7 times like this. Okay, without devotion, without attachment to the deity, without attention, without love. It is called mechanical service. Third is disrespect or irreverence. Means showing disrespect or irreverence while performing seva, such as talking loudly, laughing, and doing something in between the aarti. You remember something, even disturbance in your mind, thoughts in your mind is also disrespect to the deity. And these are high standards. Definitely in Kali Yuga it is very difficult. That is why deity worship is banned. But as a devotee, any limb of bhakti is capable of taking back home back to Godhead. So even deity worship has that capacity to take us back home back to Godhead. Yes, in Kali Yuga it is difficult, but still we should try our best. A person who can chant holy names nightly can perform good deity worship. See, all the activities in devotional service in our bhakti, they have to go like a parallel lines. You can tell, oh, I don't feel like doing deity worship. I will just sit down and I will just chant my rounds. No, that's not a Vaishnava etiquette. A Vaishnava who is able to chant well, he can also do deity worship well. That is a standard. Okay, so that means you are disrespecting. Even this can be applied in chanting also. While chanting, our thoughts, we do planning, we do so many things, right? That is also disrespect. Why? You are inviting the Lord and you are not showing respect towards Him. Similarly, we are in the front of the Lord and you are offering this thing, you are disrespecting. Fourth reason can be pride or ego. Means if you are performing deity worship as a show off, just like I do, performing seva with pride or ego, or seeking recognition, and or you praise for one's effort, means I'm doing this deity worship, I'm doing all this so that somebody else might praise me. This can be also one of the reasons why we can perform aparadha towards a deity. Fifth, lack of cleanliness or hygiene. Failing to maintain cleanliness or hygiene while performing seva, such as handling prasad or offering or cleaning anything. More important here, it is talking about cleanliness of your heart, cleanliness of your mind. Bodily cleansing we can do with soap, we can take bath, we can fresh after we become, when we pass stool and all these things we can do. That becomes a habit. After some time, it becomes a habit to the body. But here, lack of cleanliness or hygiene of the mind. What does lack of cleanliness or hygiene of the mind means? What does it mean? How do we clean our mind?
Chanting.
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 When your sadhana is not good, it is lack of cleanliness. You cannot maintain. That is why we have purification of the mind and purification of the body. So next time when if ever we are doing a deity worship class, I will tell you there are some things which we need to do before deity worship. We try to take bath, we do achamana, we do everything. That is for the body. But there is also cleansing of the mind. We have to do some bhuta shuddhi prayers. We should actually identify ourselves not as with the body, but with as a spirit soul, and then perform devotional service. All these are very important. So cleanliness, lack of cleanliness or hygiene, both mentally and physically, we should avoid. So should I read randomly all these 32? I'll go very fast, and most of it you all know, because when you are young, I don't know, but if you see, sometimes our mothers or grandmothers would say, don't show your back, don't talk filth before the Lord, don't yawn before the Lord, or don't be unclean, don't touch the Lord. All these things are there in this. Okay, so there are 32 offenses by Haribhakti Vilas. I will tell you all those. Please quickly, I'll read fast. Okay. Entering the temple with shoe. See, all these things, entering the temple with shoe, entering the temple in a vehicle or a palanquin, all this can be put in this category. Something to lack of cleanliness or hygiene. Hygiene, I can put, entering the temple with shoes. That is why I did not put all this category into one. I just told what are the types of aparats we do. I told you about 5 aparats. One is neglecting or lack of attention. Second, inattentive or mechanical service. Third, disrespect or irreverence. Fourth, pride or ego. Fifth, lack of cleanliness. All these things we can put in these 5 types of seva aparats. So the first one is entering the temple with shoes on. Second, entering the temple in a vehicle means entering the temple with vehicle means earlier days the kings would be carried in palanquin, but that palanquin was kept outside the jurisdiction of the temple. As soon as he would come out of his palace, he would come royally, but before the temple he would come as a pauper. That means we should never enter the temple in a vehicle as if you are a very high person. Okay. Not observing the festivals of Bhagavan means we are not observing the festivals of Bhagavan and the devotees. Very, very important for a progress, that you may celebrate Janmashtami, all this, but sometimes we try to ignore the important days of Acharya's appearance and disappearances. How many of you consciously put an effort in in performing or observing the Acharya's appearance and disappearance. We neglect, right? We always try to we want somebody high. We only want something on that high stature, like Krishna's birthday, Janmashtami, appearances, or all this, something to relate with the God. But we undermine the great devotees who are coming in our lineage. Very, very important for us is we have to observe the festivals of even Krishna's devotees. How many of you agree? Why do we have to observe the festivals of even Acharyas? Hare Krishna. Let's make it interactive.
They are the representatives.
Because Krishna loves them and they have
Yes.
served Krishna.
That is the only thing we should remember in our life. We should do what Krishna likes. Krishna likes when his devotees are glorified. That is the reason it's okay even if you don't do Janmashtami, but if you don't observe the festivals of Krishna's devotee, Krishna will not like it and we may not progress. Just like he may be okay if you directly insult Krishna. If you disrespect Krishna, he is fine. But if you disrespect his devotees, Krishna will not like it. So I request you, hardly it will take how much time in the morning to look the calendar, or just 1 week in this week, which Acharya is there, what his appearance is there, his disappearance is there. Sit down or open your book and read about the greatness of that Acharya, what he's given to us, what legacy he has left us. Please, it's very important for our progress. Okay, not offering obeisances to deity. Okay. Okay, and unless you have some physical ailment, we should always offer obeisances. And more important, you should fall flat like a stick when you see a Vaishnava. Okay, so that is why in temple sometimes we should not offer direct. If a sannyasi is coming and Krishna's altar is open, we should never offer obeisances full dandavat to the sannyasi. Why? Because it's also disrespectful for the Lord. So what we do, we offer half dandavat. Okay, but we should never neglect offering obeisances to the deity, and we should also never neglect offering obeisances to a Vaishnava. I'm also putting this along with this. Okay, worshipping Bhagavan or praying before the deity without washing mouth, hands, or after eating, or with unclean body. Unclean body after passing stool, or after, if you're sick, and if you have gone to the nature's call, or if you are doing some other work, or have cooked or eaten with that hand. It's always necessary that we do achaman while performing any of the activity. Next, offering obeisances to Bhagavan in an unclean state. Here, unclean also refers to your mind also. Mentally also, if you're unclean, if you have bad thoughts, but you're performing this, we should never do that. Means we should always go before the Lord with utter humility, in a state of need for you. We should go to Krishna as if you really need Krishna. Just like a child in pain or in separation from his mother, how he or she cries. Similarly, as a separation from Krishna, we should all go before him. This unclean body you can clean, but unclean mind, you should understand that you are an orphan. You have left Krishna. You are bereft of your real father and mother. So we should really go unclean state of mind. We should understand that you have to be with Krishna. Okay, in that state you have to go. Here, unclean state also means mentally, not just physically, bodily. Bodily, you can. I'll tell you a very nice story of Karmama Bai's Kichdi. You all know that, right? Jagannath Baldev's Kichdi, famous Kichdi of this thing. In that, you can see Krishna actually did not give any preference to the bodily cleanliness. Karmama Bai was a great devotee of Krishna, especially Jagannath. But she would cook amazing khichdi for Jagannath. But she is a very small, innocent, ignorant lady. So she would may not maintain the highest standard. According to Agama scriptures, highest standards or etiquettes in doing bhoga or anything. She doesn't know. She simply cooks khichdi out of love for Jagannath. And she offers. And Jagannath doesn't care. As soon as the time is there, he will leave the temple also. Jagannath is worshipped. So many Shodaka Upacharas are done to the deity. So many items are offered. He doesn't care that for that, but he simply, even before the altar is open, he would go to Karmabai's house and he would eat that khichdi, which is prepared even in unclean state. Why? Because she's cooked out of love and devotion. But once when, just before the deity altar was opened, Jagannath comes, and then Jagannath, he suddenly remembers, oh, the conch shell is blowing in the temple. That means I have to be inside the sanctorium, and he goes inside the temple. But in that hurry, he actually forgets to wash his mouth and face. And then when the pujari enters the altar, he sees that Jagannath has khichdi here. And then he sees that how come the night before I offered all the upacharas, I have cleaned the Lord and he's all fine, I have nicely dressed, I have given everything. How come there is food on Jagannath's hand and his mouth? And then he understands that Jagannath is going to Karmabai's house and eating khichdi. Okay. And then that pujari goes to that Karmabai and then he sees the kitchen is very bad. She does not have high standard. She doesn't take bath. But all she's worried is she has to cook for Jagannath out of love. And then he comes and tells her the vidhis of doing, following this regular rules and regulations, doing this, that. In doing so, she loses the spirit of cooking for Jagannath. She's more worried about how to do this, how to do the upacharas, how to perform the do's and don'ts, some rules and regulations. With that, she actually loses the spirit behind performing that activity. And it gets so difficult for us seeing that Jagannath actually chastises. And then this pujari goes and he tries to tell her, do this, do that. So she doesn't like it. So here, when you see this, then she stops cooking because she's more worried about what to do about the ritualistic activities. So she gets late and she's not able to do her seva properly. So Jagannath comes in the dream of this panda, and then he tells, "Why are you depriving her of her service to me? I don't mind. I don't mind even if she's unclean bodily, but mentally she's at most purest, highest level, and she's offering me with love and devotion. And that is why today also the first thing which is offered to Jagannath is Karmabai's khichdi. Now you may say that we should offer obeisances, we should do service in a very clean state. We should not do anything in unclean state. Here what Krishna is looking is the clean state of our mind, not our body. But yes, as a sadhana bhakti, we should also be clean physically. Bodily also, we should maintain cleanliness of higher standard. Okay. Next, offering obeisances with one hand only. Therefore, to avoid this offense, all hands held objects should be set aside before offering obeisances. Very, very important that if you have something in your hand, you should put down and offer obeisances properly with two hands folding. Okay. Next, turning around in circle while standing in front of the deity. Some people in India do this because they consider equivalent to performing parikrama in the deity. Okay, what does it mean? That if you have an opportunity to go around the deity or walk around the temple to do parikrama, but if you are lazy in doing, but standing at one place and turning to do parikrama is wrong. What it means? Okay. It is also said we should perform deity worship in our mind also. Manasik puja is also a very bona fide way of doing puja. Sometimes you may not find a place or a position, you're not in a position where you can do parikrama. In the mind, you can do parikrama. That is okay. But when you have all the facilities available where you can do parikrama, but you're lazily doing parikrama or not doing parikrama and just standing and doing parikrama, that is wrong. Please take it in the right way. What does it mean? Okay. Spreading one's leg and pointing one's feet towards the deity while sitting in front of the deity, which all know we should never show our feet to the Lord. Okay. Next, sitting with one foot over the thigh in the half lotus pose or with both knees folded in front of the deity. So the legs, sometimes we sit with different ways. It is always better that in front of the deity we should sit in Padmasana. But unfortunately, in Kali Yuga, we have this back problems and our body does not facilitate. Krishna can understand as Bhavagrahi Janardana, but that doesn't mean that, Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardana, he will understand. But you should also have qualification, right? We don't have that love and devotion to that Krishna, where Krishna is okay with it. Okay. So try to see. Yes, Mataji? Somebody is
We
speaking.
can't sit on the Padmasana. Can we sit on the stool, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. See, here they're giving you the rules. See, time, place, circumstances we should see how best we can follow this. Okay. In Kali Yuga, yeah, maintaining these standards are difficult, but we can strive. But when you are young and all, you can sit like that, but you choose to not sit like that, then that is a problem. Okay. Next, sleeping in front of the deity, eating in the front of the deity, telling lies in the front of the deity, talking loudly in the front of the deity. Specifically, very, very important that, when you're making your deity sleep in the night or when the deity is sleeping, that we should never go and talk loudly in front of the deity. Just like, you see, somebody important in your family or a guest is coming, how you behave? You don't try to, make loud noises. You don't want to create disturbances. Similarly, when the Lord is there, Lord is your eternal guest, is your family member. Okay? He's your grandsire of your family. That is why we should see that we should not give discomfort to the Lord. Gossiping in front of the deity, pushing or blessing anyone in the front of the deity. That means somebody standing before you, we should never push, make them move and all. Or don't try to, surpass them and go. Our mood is what? Servant of servant of servant, not boss of boss and boss. So that is, we should make utter humility by being others. We should give preference to others to serve Krishna. And that is what our entire gopis are doing, right? What is Radharani doing? Radharani is Gandharvika. She can offer best thing to Krishna, but she's allowing all other gopis to do service to Krishna. Okay? Next, admonishing anyone or using harsh words in the front of the deity. We should never chastise or blaspheme any devotee. Wrapping oneself in a blanket while serving the deity. So that's why we should not put any blanket or anything which is, for that is why in deity worship, it is always said that we should we should wear unstitched clothes. That is why pujaris, they wear just uttariya and dhoti, because it's unstitched. Why? If you stitch and wear something and all, na, there can be some dirt and all which can go into the crevices or in between the stitched part. So that is why it is said we should not put blanket also. Criticizing someone in the front of the deity, glorifying someone else in the front of the deity. Okay, we should never do that. Okay, we should never glorify. In fact, especially it is even great devotees or sannyasis, sometimes we try to glorify the Lord. As an etiquette, you should do, but actually, you should also understand that it's a disservice to glorify the Lord in front of the deity, because the Vaishnava does not like it. Okay, using
Mataji,
obscene. Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, I have a question. Mataji, can I take it now, or
Yes.
can I ask now?
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
if you're doing any deity worship, Mataji, or a senior devotee, or maybe Maharaj or somebody has come, how should you do prostate obeisances to that Maharaj or devotee, or because in front of the deities or not?
We should do half Mataji.
Sorry, Mataji?
Half Dandavat.
Half
Even
Dandavat,
men should
okay.
do half Dandavat, not complete. Flat obeisance.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
And
This we can do in etiquettes, Vaishnava etiquettes. There's a course called Vaishnava etiquettes. In that, it actually beautifully tells how we should receive Vaishnavas, how we should behave in front of the deity, what is deity worship, how we should serve prasadam. Etiquettes. These are etiquettes of a Vaishnava. In that we will do.
okay.
Okay. It also tells how we should offer obeisances, in what way we should dance, what way we should do kirtan. All this comes under etiquettes.
You gave one book, Mataji, for us. One printed book you gave.
Yeah.
Okay.
If ever Krishna willing, and if somebody wants, we can do that course. Okay, I may not be correct, but we can see if we can get some senior Vaishnavas to do that. It's a very, very important course on Vaishnava etiquette. Very important. Okay. Next, using obscene words in front of the deity, breaking wind in front of the deity. It's also very important that we should not fart, we should not pass gas, or we should not belch, we should not yawn in front of the deities. Okay. Offering useless articles to the deity, though capable of offering superior articles. Very, very, very important. Actually, Krishna doesn't see how much you are giving, how much you are holding back is what he sees. That means you are capable of offering him the best of the worship, but because of your miserness, your greed, because of your conjuice in your mind, that you're not able to offer superior qualities. For yourself, when you're if a Vaishnava is coming to your house, cook, offer him the best food. But for you, you can eat khichdi. A lot of people say, oh, Vaishnavas, they're very simple, let me offer khichdi. No, that is not at all the mood we should carry. Just like if you're capable of offering superior articles to Krishna, but if you're not offering, that is also an offense. That means you can offer silver, but you're putting him with steel plates, that is wrong. Means understand your stature. See, everything is given by Krishna to us, right? Whether in this lifetime, what kind of lifestyle we are living, how much money we have, everything has been given by Krishna. So why can't we use everything in service of Krishna? I'm saying if you are capable, if you are in that position, please offer best articles in your worship. Okay? Not offering seasonal fruits and vegetables. Very important that seasonal fruits and vegetables have to be used in Krishna's service. Eating without offering food to Krishna. Okay, we should never do that. Okay. Giving portions of eatables to someone first and then offering the rest to the deities. Means sometimes even before you're cooking, you may pack some portions and you give. That is wrong. Sitting with one's back towards the deity. We should never show our back to the deity. Offering obeisances to someone else in the front of the deity. We should never do that. Okay. Next, remaining silent when questioned by one's guru. Very important. That if your guru is asking you some question, you should answer them. Praising oneself in front of the deity means showing your ego, and thinking that you are great in front of the deity or doing deity worship to show off is also an offense. Criticizing devatas in front of the deity, that is also an offense. Next, eating food received from king or materialistic businessmen. Sometimes, we get food which may not be offered from a very, some devata, some this guru, this mata, that mata. We should not eat that. Okay. Touching the deity in the dark. We should never touch deity in the dark. Approaching the deity without observing proper etiquettes means that it is always a must in your deity worship that you don't go randomly open deity's door. Should always clap and then enter, or deity ring the bell. Okay. Or in a proper etiquette means how you are dressing. It is more about a mental status than the physical. Your body should be clean, but in a way you're going proper etiquette also means your mental etiquette. We should observe that you have to do deity service, and it requires your mental ability, not your physical ability.
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
is looking
Mataji.
for your bhava, not your body. Yes,
Mataji,
Mataji?
whenever we enter, we have to clap.
Yes.
Morning,
That's
any
also,
time.
see. It says opening the door to deity's temple without first clapping or ringing bell is also an offense. Breaking silence while worshipping the deity. Okay. If somebody has vowed to remain silent while doing worship in deep meditation, somebody is going and disturbing or breaking the silence, or that urge to speak should be cut off. That's you're doing deity worship and somebody else is talking, and you are breaking that silence of meditating on the Lord and then replying to them or talking to them in between, like that, or even diverting your mind out of meditation is also a seva aparadh. Interrupting one's worship to go out and pass stool or urine. That's also one thing. Offering incense without first offering fragrance or scented garlands. Okay. Offering forbidden flowers, meaning those which are old, shriveled, rotten, already used for other purpose, unclean, red colored, except for roses. Okay. We should never offer red colored flowers, all these mandara and all to the Lord. We should never offer old flowers, shriveled flowers, rotten flowers. Please understand, only thing which can be reused, if not available, is tulasi. That's it. Haribhakti Vilas says, in a place where you don't have tulasi, you cannot offer fresh tulasi. Any part of the tulasi is also not available, like the bark, the root, even the manjari, or even the dried part of the tulasi is also not available. Sometimes it's okay to wash and reuse tulasi. How many of you know this?
I didn't know that.
You can reuse only tulasi. And if you don't even have that, we should chant 7 times tulasi, 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 and then in Manasik you can offer tulasi even if you don't have tulasi.
Okay.
Okay? And then you can do without tulasi, no offering is to be offered to the Lord.
Mataji, Ekadashi
Yes.
and Dwadasi, we should not pluck Tulasi Mataji. On that day, we can say
Yes,
Tulasi.
actually,
Tulasi.
Ekadasi, some people do it, but we should never do that because if you have chance, before day only pick up Tulasi. Because why? Tulasi is a pure devotee and she's doing Ekadasi Vrata. We should not go and disturb. And next day, because she has done Ekadasi Vasa, on Dwadasi, she is very weak. That's why we should never pluck.
Mataji, but can we do Tulsi Puja and offer
Yes,
water?
puja can be do offering water. Yes, you can do. Okay. But
Even on Nirdala
but
Ekadasi?
even what you do, that is why when it comes to Ekadasis and Tulasi worship, do everything one day before so that it can, even if you don't water on the next 2 days, it is fine.
Okay.
All these things can be done before. Okay, especially Dwadasi, we should not do. On Ekadasi also, sometimes if you forget, it is okay to take flowers. But whenever you are picking flowers, there is a shloka for it. Please, with utmost reverence, that Tulsi Devi, I am only causing you little pain because I need to take you and offer to Krishna. Without you, Krishna never accepts the offering. This should be the mood in which you have to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Mataji, red flowers offer cheyaddన్నారు కదా అది
Yeah,
ఎందుకు
Mandara and all, they said not to offer red color flowers, especially Mandara and all. When I was small, my mom and all, they would say never use mandara and red color ones to this thing. But please understand, Krishna is who?
భావగ్రాహి
One Bihari. He is used to wear what mala Krishna wears?
వైజయంతి మాల
Vaijayanti mala. And Vaijayanti mala has 5 different flowers. It's a forest flower. It is very smelling. So in that, see there is something called a higher principle, and there's something called which are, see, all these things come under Pancharatrika Vidhi. Means there are some do's and don'ts, there are regulations. Okay. So if we are doing it, you can follow it. But you should also understand everything in this world is made for Krishna's enjoyment. If there is nothing available, what you will do? Offer an unscented flower. In your mind, you can offer anything. See, that is for the highest standards, but as sadhakas, if you can avoid, please avoid. Okay?
Okay.
Next. Worship. Okay. Serving the deity without cleaning the teeth or without bathing after having sexual union. Worshipping without bathing after touching a woman in her menstrual cycle or dead body. Very important that whenever you are going to crematoriums or dead body or the place where they have, their unclean place where they have shraddh for some days, where sometimes or somebody is in periods. So, see, our Krishna consciousness, people, now Mataji's may answer. Mataji's, that means when I have periods, I should not enter the temple. No. You can enter the temple, but stay away from the people who are doing direct service to Krishna. Okay?
మాతాజీ హరే కృష్ణ మాతాజీ ఒక డౌట్ మాతాజీ ఇక్కడ
చెప్పండి మాతాజీ.
మాతాజీ ఇప్పుడు నేను డేటీ వర్షిప్ చేస్తాను మాతాజీ సమ్ టైమ్స్ మై డాటర్ విల్ ఆల్సో డూ కానీ తను పీరియడ్స్ వచ్చినప్పుడు తన కిచెన్ లోకి రాదు.
Yeah.
After offering is completed, after puja completed to the deities, then only she enters into. Is it okay, Mataji?
That's good. That's okay. That's nice, Mataji.
Okay, Mataji. Thank you.
See, there are many. See, in this forum, I don't want to give you. There are some times where even in the unclean state, deity worship has been performed, but there are in very rare cases. I'm not going to tell this in this forum. Why? Because in any circumstances, deity worship or service to Krishna has to be performed. No options or no exceptions should be given in deity worship. That is why temple standards, it's very difficult. What precedes you is not anything to do with material world. Our standard of worship should be on the spiritual level. So there are some exceptions where it happened also. I will not give you those exceptions now. Why? Because because we don't understand that these exceptions are for devotees of the highest standard. They can do it. You and me cannot do. We are ordinary people. Okay. So right now I will tell you these. In exception cases, on one-on-one cases, in your house, if it is applicable or not applicable, I'll talk to you one-on-one. I will not tell generally that this has to be the standard. I will not tell that. Exceptional cases, there are very much exceptional cases there. I should not be telling, but I'll tell you one example. There was this Hawaii temple when Prabhupada was there in Hawaii temple. That time temple only, in Western temples, only 1 or 2 devotees were there. And they had deities in the temple, temple deities. They have to be worshipped. 7 artis, Shodakopacharas have to be done because they are established by Agamas. So that is why what happened once one of the person's father died. He went, he did crematorium, he washed himself, and he came and he did. But according to standards, he has 10, 13 days, 10 days shraddh. But what is more important? Taking care of deity is more important. So those cases are there. But if I don't want to talk all this, that is case on case. Okay. So, but these are the aparadas which we should avoid. That we will see. Okay. Worshipping wearing red, blue, or unclean clothes. Sometimes in your Havan, I don't know if you are, but when we wear red, blue to the temple, especially pujaris, or you're sitting in Havan, we should avoid these red and blue saris. Okay. Next, worshipping without bathing after seeing dead body, visiting crematorium, passing wind after applying oil. See, by the way, please read. I'm reading from the Varaha Puranas as well as from 32 and 32. Sometimes they're very repetitive. Worshipping while angry or in the state of indigestion, which leads to burping or while passing gas. Okay. Taking up the worship of deity without respect for devotional scriptures. What does it mean? Means you're attached to the deity worship, but you do not respect the shastras. Okay, we should not do. See, anything in our devotional service, we should not undermine. Like if you are chanting, I have no right to undermine if one Mataji is doing deity worship. Or when one Mataji is doing, she's not able to do deity worship of highest standard, but she can perform good devotional service, but she's doing her japa to the first class. I have no right to comment on that. Understood? So very important that if you're doing deity worship, you should also have awe and reverence to the scriptures. You should have devotional respect towards scriptures. They're non-different from Krishna himself. Next, chewing betel or gum in the front of the deity. Worshipping the deity with flowers kept on the leaves of castor oil plants. Okay. Worshipping forbidden times such as midnight. Or there are some times where Krishna has to be given rest also, resting periods. That also you should not do. In the midnight, you should not do. Worshipping while sitting on the bare floor or on a wooden seat. Means we should always have something underneath, especially kusha grass is told that we should have some natural fiber under your feet while worshipping. Okay. Worshipping while sitting on a, okay. Touching the deity with left hand while bathing them. Very important. So many times we do these mistakes. We should never touch the deity with barefoot. I was told in the deity worship that if you're using your left hand, sometimes we need to hold some cotton or some natural fiber with your left hand, then touch the deity. Always try to use your right hand while offering anything. Okay. Worshipping with stale flowers or flowers that had previously been promised to someone else. Okay. Spitting while worshipping, boasting about one's act of worship, putting on a curved or horizontal tilaka marka. Okay. You should always adore your body before going to the Lord. That means you should always apply nice tilaka and you should go. Don't put apasampradaya tilakas. Entering the temple without washing one's feet, offering cooked food by non-devotees, worshipping in front of non-devotees, bathing the deity with water touched by fingernails. Very important that whenever you are doing achaman or invoking Gange cha Yamune cha, you should touch the water, okay, with the fingertip. Don't immerse your feet, your finger into the nail and then invoke the mantra. Always touch at the tip. This tip is there, right? Here you need to touch. Not don't put your finger like this. Okay. Worshipping while the body is perspiring. Crossing over the articles offered to Bhagavan. What is crossing over the articles offered to Bhagavan? Sometimes when you're doing deity worship, you offer incense. Don't put that incense back into that plate because there are unoffered items and this has been offered. Put it to the side of it. When you have offered that arti, okay, don't put arti in that unoffered plate item. Put it separately. Don't cross over the articles which has been offered and unoffered should never be touched. Okay, in our kitchen also, sometimes you have stale food. Sometimes don't try to touch the offered and unoffered food together. Taking an oath in the name of Bhagavan, very, very important. You should always be cautious that never take oath in the name of Bhagavan. I promise from today onwards I will do this. By the way, don't think that it's only in front of the deity itself. Should never do in front of the deities, never do in front of the Vaishnavas. And Krishna is where is Krishna not present? Where is Krishna not present?
He's everywhere.
He's
Is
everywhere.
everywhere, Matam.
Then that is why don't take oath, false oath, in that rage, in that spur of the moment, something you become and then say, Mataji, from today onwards, I am telling you, never do that in your life. If it comes out your mouth, bite your mouth and stop it. Understood? Never do that. Why? We are already struggling. We have taken oath in front of our deities. In initiation, we do that, right? And when we don't follow, what happens? We fall down. That's why initiation is a very important aspect in our life. Why? Because we are taking oath in the front of fire, in front of Vaishnavas, in front of deities, and to the spiritual master. Initiation was it's a very committed role. It's a responsibility. That why please stop. Don't in that spur of the moment in front of others. If somebody has pointed you or telling you for your welfare, but Mataji, do like this, do like this, do this, do that, or do this japa like this, do that. Don't ever promise, Mataji, I'm promising you I will do this. Mataji, I will do this. Don't ever do that. I'm telling you, if some Mataji is telling like that, onus is on to you that you stop her from doing that. There are people who give that oaths in front of others, but they have that capacity to follow that. But when you are weak, when you are feeble, please, in that rage, don't try to offer oath in the front of Bhagavan. Okay? Yeah, so many more are there. Yeah, almost all of these. So, see, please understand all these things you are thinking it is something to relate with the body. Yes, with the body, we should serve Krishna with our body, with our words, and with our mind. So these are also important. Moreover, here, Krishna, what we are seeing is we should not commit offenses in our mental state. All these also somehow or the other applicable to your mental level also. So what we should do? Is there any prevention? Is there any rectification of aparats? So many aparats. See, these are the aparats which we do for DT Seva. Right? More important, what is more important? How to rectify. See, we should be very conscious of any aparad. Now let me give you a general rules. Whether it is Nam aparad, Seva aparad, Guru aparad, Jiva aparad, any aparads. All you have to be is you have to rectify the aparads, and more importance is you have to prevent us from committing these aparads. How we can do? We can rectify these aparads. Like first, we should acknowledge and regret. Means you should acknowledge that you have committed offenses. For DT worship, there are what do you say? Forgiveness prayers. What are they called? What aparadha prayers are there? Shodaka Upachara aparadha prayers are there, where you can simply recite that mantra. That is not what aparadha Shodaka mantras. Don't make it mechanical. It should not be mechanical. Oh, it's okay, I will do DT worship and then Aparashodaka mantra I will do and then it's over. No, it is not. Please acknowledge and regret and feel remorse. And in remorse that you are not going to commit it afterwards. Feeling remorse and not taking responsibility of not committing it again is also an offense. Next. Second is confess and apologize. Confess the aparad to senior devotee or spiritual authority and apologize sincerely, whether you're doing it for the DT, whether you're doing a Vaishnava aparad, whether you're doing it to the others. Go and confess. We are in a hierarchy, we are in a parampara system. Okay? So go and approach your seniors. Talk to them, their spiritual authority, your mentors. Apologize. Why? It's very important we speak out. Yes, it is very, what do you say, austeritic. It is, but we should also do some tapasya. We should do some tapasya of disclosing our inabilities, disclosing ourselves. to the Lord. Why? Because it will help you. If you don't disclose, what will happen? That means you are acting as if you are a Vaishnava, but you are not a Vaishnava within. A Vaishnava will confess and open his heart. Tadati pratigrahanati guhyam akyati prachati. Who told this? Rupa Goswami is telling, the great Acharya is telling. Talk to each other. Confess. And especially aparadh. So first thing, acknowledge regret. Second is confess and apologize. Just give me 10 minutes, I'm done. Perform atonement. Very, very important. The entire human life which is meant for is atonement only. Why we have come as a human being? Because after having so many births in different animal species, we got finally human birth to atone for our sins. In this, when this human life is meant for atonement, let's perform atonement. Engage in acts of atonement. What does atonement means? Atonement. हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं माता जी?
Pashchatāp.
Paschatap. Repentance. Prayaschitta. Yeah. Do the acts of prayaschitta. How do you do? By the way, you're doing atonement doesn't mean that you are doing atonement to nullify the offenses. Your atonement should be there for you to get strength not to perform the offenses. For example, chanting, extra rounds of chanting. Don't think that I've done this offense, I will nullify with chanting. No, that doesn't work. Extra chanting, fasting on Ekadasis, fasting on the auspicious appearance and disappearances of the Lord. Service, performing menial services to Vaishnavas, menial service to deity. I'm telling you, Krishna likes doing menial service, removing chappal and putting the chappal in front of the deities in a proper way is much better than a person's getting onto the altar and doing that. Okay? Doing kirtan, thinking that, I'm qualified to do kirtan. I have a good voice. I will do only kirtan. I can cook well. I will do cooking only. These are not the performance of atonements. Doing menial services where your heart is going to churn to become servant of servant of servant, or to get the mood of dasya bhav, to be the servant of the Lord. Those kind of atonements have to be done. The atonements which brings you remorse, humility have to be done. Not an atonement which will make you puffed up. Means you're doing prayaschitta. That means I fasted on Ekadasi whole day. I will do Ekadasi without drinking water, not to show off, but to really perform atonement, to feel remorse, regret, and not to perform. Next, fifth, make amendments in your life. Very, very important. Amendments are what? You're taking some decisions which is going to change your life, your behavior. You're avoiding some activities which will help you not commit aparadhas in future. So, how do you rectify aparadhas? First, acknowledge regret, confess and apologize, perform atonement, and make amendments. Okay. This is for rectification. But more, why we have to engage and then rectify? Let's put our energy, this energy which is given to us, let us make best utilize of it in preventing it. How do we prevent? First of all, we have to cultivate. So prevention is much better than rectification. How many of you agree? And prevention is actually the correct atonement.
Right, Mataji.
Okay. So first, cultivate humility. Means you should develop humility. You should develop the acts. We should do things which will make us humble. And what does humility means? We should understand how great is the Lord, how limited we are. We should understand that we have limitations. Okay? Never think that you are great. We are actually a doer. No, we are not. The reason why we are here is we actually think that we are the doer, we are the proprietor, I am the controller. No, we have limitations. Krishna is Vibhu, we are Anu. Developed humility. See how great Krishna is and how small we are. Okay? And what we are in this material world. Where are we? And how great Krishna is and how great these Vaishnavas are. Okay? So everybody cultivate humility. Humility actually helps you in preventing. Next, association with devotees. Associate with devotees who can guide you, who can support you in your spiritual journey. That is why you should talk to them in confidence. You should have confidence that if I talk to him, if I disclose myself, this Mataji is really going to help me. Her words are going to reform me. So associate with devotees. Always perform your devotional service under the guidance of Guru, Shastra and Sadhu. Please write it. Never be independent. Independence is the only thing that made you away from Krishna, and that's why you're here in this material world. Your independence is dependence on Krishna. Write it somewhere. Your independence is dependence on Krishna and the devotees of Krishna. Third, chant and study scriptures. Very important. Regular chanting. Chanting not just 16 rounds. When you get time, you should chant more. Okay. In holy dhams, specifically, it's very much recommended that you chant, because that holy dham has the potency to clean us. Next, study scriptures. When you go to holy dhams, sometimes there is no sadhu. Take this Bhagavatam book, sit there and study. And more important, cultivate awareness or be conscious to avoid aparadas. We should always be conscious of aparadas and start taking responsibility of it. A responsible person acts in a way which does good to everybody and to himself. Okay, so yeah, this is what it is. So let's instead of trying to see how we stop committing, instead of committing and rectifying, let's put our energy, what Krishna has given, our best utilization of our energy in preventing these aparadas. Why? These aparadas can kill our bhakti. So much we are struggling in this material world. So we should not see, already Maya is putting us in illusion. We ourselves should not take initiative to put ourselves in illusion. Okay, thank you so much. I've just taken all this information from the book. I have no realization. I'm just speaking just like that. I seek all your blessings and forgiveness for that audacity to speak on this great subject matter, which practically I'm not following. But I will definitely utilize this as an opportunity, as a preaching for me. So all these things which I have told is for me and for my atonement. Okay. Thank you so much. Pancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyayo cha पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।